The shooting operations were very much in-your-face killings. They were not by remote control the way gas chamber killing operations were. In terms of record keeping, the Einsatzgruppen had instructions to keep statistics on the number of people that they shot. Not only the number of Jews, but also the number of communists and insurgents, as they called them, or agitators or resistors that they shot. This document shows a map of the Baltic states and Belarus with coffins, one coffin in each country, as well as a number next to the coffin, which designates the number of Jews killed in that particular region in the middle of January 1942.
I encountered the story of the Einsatzgruppen in the course of reading about human violence, which is something my work has focused on as an historian and a writer. The fact is, to read about the Holocaust in any of its aspects is to be traumatized. I had nightmares. I had a great difficulty dealing with this material. Ultimately, what moved me to push through those feelings and tell this story was that these victims had never really been celebrated. Their story had never really been told. And even more terribly, I think, the general belief of historians is that the death camps were the center of the story. That the Einsatzgruppen killings generally have been shrugged off as wild excesses of the SS, which to me basically means that those historians also really didn't want to confront this material.
Die Stadt zeigt Spuren schwersten Kampfes. Die ukrainische Bevölkerung empfängt unsere Soldaten begeistert als Befreier vom Blutterror des Bolschewismus.
The Einsatzgruppen massacres preceded the invention of the death camps. When the German army invaded the Soviet Union in June of 1941, the Einsatzgruppen followed behind the army, ostensibly to pacify the civilians when the army moved on. But part of their program was to murder Jews. And the idea of mass industrialized killing really hadn't come up yet.
Das Judenviertel von Jonava, das gleichfalls nach dieser Anordnung verschont wurde, wird gesäubert. Auch hier terrorisierte das jüdische Gesindel im Bunde mit den GPU-Agenten die litauische Bevölkerung in der furchtbarsten Weise.
Institutionally, to put it in a nutshell, the Einsatzgruppen were essentially mobile offices of the Reich Main Office for Security, responsible for a region and would move with the advance of German troops.
These people kill every day, several times a week, entire communities, no end. On to the next one. They don't seem to tire, they don't seem to slack, and they're relentless about it. They're also not satiated by the blood that they have spilled. Let's go to the next place. More. No satisfaction, no end.
There were 4 Einsatzgruppen. The largest, which was Einsatzgruppe A, consisted of about 900 personnel, of whom maybe half were actual police officers, and the remainder were support personnel, truck drivers, clerks, paymasters. The locals provided the rest of the manpower. Generally, the ratio of German nationals to locals was probably about 60-40 in the major operations, and then, of course, much less in these initial operations where there were fewer German personnel on hand.
They had their hands full. They were killing hundreds of thousands of people, one bullet at a time. You had to have a pit dug, you had to gather the people together. It took time, it was trouble. But they had a terrible logistics problem. So the Einsatzgruppen specifically preceded the death camps and were, in my judgment as a historian who's looked very carefully at the record, the reason for the invention of the death camps.
שוכן במרומים, אמצי מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר רקיע מזהירים. חס נשמות כל אלה ויששוק הקדושים והטהורים שהומתו ושנהרגו ושנשחטו.
At this time, I'd like to call up Tzvi Michalovsky.
I was with 100 people. And